You never know what to expect on the diamond, and last night was a perfect example. One of the best teams in baseball comes to town with its ace on the mound, and the Cubs took it to the Phillies, winning 6-1. Tonight, another test with Cy Young Award winner Cliff Lee taking on Matt Garza. What's in store? Who knows? It's why they play the game. Phillies and Cubs. Next. Well, you have the Cubs against the Phillies in this series, but both teams battling the elements. Although it has cooled down a bit, wind blowing in, the lake breeze feels good. Cub fans grabbing a free Cubs cap on their way into the ballpark. And we're set for Game 2 of this series, the Phillies and the Cubs here on Comcast Sportsnet. Hi again, everyone. Bob Brenly and Len Casper with you. A nice 6-1 win last night. Tonight represents a rematch of a game in Philadelphia on June 11th, and both Cliff Lee and Matt Garza pitched well, but Cliff Lee didn't lose in June, did he?
No, he didn't lose at all in June. This guy had some kind of a run. The game you mentioned against the Cubs earlier, he had the plug pulled after 8 innings. Could have very easily finished that ball game, but Charlie Manuel got him out of the game. He went on to complete his next 3 ball games after this one.
That was the only run he would allow the entire month of June, an RBI hit off the bat of Lou Montañez. 5-0 in June, 0-1 to start July, although in his last start he hit a home run, so you've got to worry about him offensively now as well. We mentioned Garza, Bob. He pitched really well in that game. Unfortunately, the Cubs didn't score much for him.
Yeah, he pitched well in that game, and even more importantly, in my eyes, Len, he's pitched extremely well lately. He's found his curveball, which has become a very good pitch for him. He can throw it for strikes when he wants to. He can bounce it in the dirt when he wants to. Those are the numbers for Matt Garza against the Phillies back on June 11th.
Garza looks for his first win since June 27th. Cliff Lee 4-0 lifetime against the Cubs. Well, last night, Carlos Pena hit a milestone home run, the 250th of his major league career. We'll see if the Cubs can keep the offense going tonight against the Phillies. Next.
Northwest Indiana Lexus dealer who invites you to test drive a Lexus today. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Illinois. 75 years of being right here in Illinois means no one's closer to your wellness. Experience wellness everywhere. Subway. Every day at Subway, choose from many delicious regular footlong subs for just $5. Subway. Eat fresh. Honda. Today, or go to shophonda.com and find great values on a new Honda. AT&T Uverse. Find out more of what's possible at att.com. AT&T. Rethink possible. And by Southwest Airlines' new Rapid Rewards. Unlimited reward seats and no blackout dates.
Welcome back to the ballpark as the Cubs get set to host the Phillies in Game 2 of this series. Cubs taking the field behind starter Matt Garza. It's cooled off a bit. That slight lake breeze makes all the difference in the world. And let's check in on the Phillies Southwest starting lineup, written out by their manager, Charlie Manuel. Jimmy Rollins supplied their only run last night with a home run. Michael Martinez starts at third. Chase Utley has reached in 21 in a row. Ryan Howard at first. Shane Victorino fresh off the disabled list. He had a sprained thumb, and he's right back in the lineup. Ibanez in left, Brown in right. Ruiz the catcher, and Cliff Lee, we mentioned, hit a home run, his first career blast in his last start.
Take a look at the Cubs defensively tonight. Brought to you by Degree. It'll be Soriano, Bird, and Reed Johnson across the outfield tonight, left to right. Ramirez and Castro on the left side of the infield. Jeff Baker and Carlos Pena on the right side. Giovanni Soto doing the catching tonight for our Alexis pursuing perfection starting pitcher, right-hander Matt Garza. Garza coming off a very solid outing against the Florida Marlins. His last time out, 7 innings of 6 hits, shutout baseball, struck out 6 Marlins, walked 3. Rebounded well from that beating he took in Washington. And as I mentioned earlier, a really good curveball lately. We'll watch for that tonight.
Michigan native Tim Welke is the crew chief, and he'll get the plate tonight in his 28th year. Graduated from Coldwater High School in 1975. John Hirschbeck. As you go around the horn, actually it's Mike DeMuro at first, Corey Blazer, Andy Fletcher on the bases. And there's Mike Quade looking to see his team follow up last night's 6-1 win with a second consecutive win. It would be the first time for the Cubs since June 29th and 30th against the Giants. The Phillies have been very consistent in an opposite way. They're trying to prevent consecutive defeats for just the 5th time this year. Last time they lost consecutive contests, May 31st through June 4th, when they lost 4 in a row. And that tells you why they're in first place in their division.
When you have that kind of starting pitching, losing streaks tend to be very short.
So here's Garza against Jimmy Rollins, who is 0 for 7 against Matt. Matt 1-1 in 2 career starts against the Phillies. And here we go. Right down the middle on a fastball for a strike. Rob, you talked about his curveball. This is a very good fastball hitting club, so the breaking pitches tonight could be really big for Matt Garza. Another fastball's popped up in the shallow left as Castro will make the catch for the out.
Talking to a couple of the scouts who were in attendance last night and saw that tremendous outing by Rodrigo Lopez. They basically echoed the same sentiment. This Phillies team, if they get in hitters counts and you try to challenge with fastballs, it's going to be a very short night for a pitcher. But last night Lopez was able to throw his slider and his changeup when he did get in those rare hitters counts and really pitched an effective game against the Phillies.
Michael Martinez, switch hitting third baseman. One bouncer right into the midsection of Carlos Pena. 2 quick outs.
You need soft hands and a hard stomach to field this shot. That ball came right up into his midsection, but he's able to stay with it, take the out himself at first base. 1 pitch, 1 out to Martinez. You got to love that.
Now it's Chase Utley, the second baseman. That's the better part of the first 2 months of the season with the right knee injury. And he takes ball 1.
Well, I'll tell you, Landon, it doesn't matter how many times I see Chase Utley, I'm amazed by how late he gets into a hitting position. He'll waggle that bat, waggle the bat. He'll wait until Matt Garza is almost ready to start his delivery, and he'll take one last little waggle and right there and get it back into a hitting position. That is very late for most big league hitters, but it works for him.
Since 2004, he leads all second basemen in homers, RBIs, extra base hits, and total bases.
I guess that's one way to avoid the tension that some hitters get in their forearms and their wrist and their hands when they start squeezing the sawdust out of the bat.
Good changeup. You also noticed how short a bat he uses. He crowds the plate, got hit by a pitch last night, something that's pretty common for him. He leans over that plate. Bounced foul to make it 2-2. Utley, by the way, has been hit 132 times in his career. He's been hit at least 24 times, 3 different seasons.
He's kind of a right-handed version of Reed Johnson. He gets right up on that inside line of the batter's box and refuses to give on inside pitches.
Not seeing the Garza breaking ball just yet. All fastballs except for one changeup here in this at bat.
Should be a curveball here.
And the 2-2, and it's popped up. A 9-pitch first inning for Matt Garza. Reed Johnson in there against the lefty Lee. Starlin Castro at short. Aramis Ramirez right at an even 300. Look at all the 300 batting averages. The top 5 guys in the order hitting 300. Baker for Barney tonight. You've got Bird in center, Soriano in left, Carlos Pena down in the 7 spot. Soto back in there along with Matt Garza.
Quick look at the Phillies defensively tonight. It'll be Raul Ibanez in left. Shane Victorino, as Len mentioned, off the DL in center field. Dominic Brown over in right. Martinez, Rollins, Utley, Howard across the infield. Carlos Ruiz doing the catching once again tonight for the 2008 Cy Young winner, left-hander Cliff Lee.
And that was in the American League with the Cleveland Indians. He's moved around quite a bit since. Starts Reed Johnson. with a strike. Well, other than the fact that he's left-handed and Roy Halladay's right-handed, what's the big difference between these two aces?
I think Halladay throws a few more off-speed pitches. He uses his straight changeup a lot more. He throws more slow curveballs. Cliff Lee is more fastball cutter. He'll mix in an occasional changeup depending on game situation, but in a nutshell, they're basically the same pitcher, but Halladay uses a few more off-speed pitches.
If you go back to the beginning part of Roy Halladay's major league career, he struggled about a decade ago. Eventually got it together and became one of the elite. Took Cliff Lee a little longer at this level, even though he had back-to-back seasons in 04 and 05 in which he won 14, then 18, and then you add 06 to it, 14 more wins. But 2007 was a disaster, 5-8 with a 6.29. But after that, he pulled it together. And he now has joined Roy Halladay and his former teammate CC Sabathia among the best in the business.
You mentioned that 07 season, just an unmitigated disaster for Cliff Lee. The season before, in 06, pitching for the Indians, he walked 58 batters in 200 2/3 innings pitched. Since that season, he has been a strike thrower supreme. He only walked 18 batters in 212 innings last year. I don't know what it was between 06 and 08, but somehow he figured out the throw strikes would be the way to go, and he has done that to an extreme since then.
Yeah, and I guess kind of the biggest difference in terms of their careers is Lee did have success early on, but then had that really bad year in 07. Went into 08, was not even guaranteed a spot in the Indians rotation. He grabbed the 5th spot, went out and won the Cy Young. You don't see that very often. For Halladay, his benchmark year was 2000 with Toronto. Had a 10.64 ERA in 19 games and 13 starts, gave up 107 hits in under 68 innings. Johnson pokes that one into right. What an at bat for Reed Johnson. And he's on his way to second. Brown's throw is going to be late.
Occasionally we talk about a tomahawk swing. This is a tomahawk swing. Reed Johnson looked like he got up on his tiptoes to get on top of that high fastball out away from him. Look at Carlos Ruiz was reaching up to catch that pitch. Instead, Reed Johnson lines it down that right field line for a leadoff double.
Starlin Castro now, with Johnson at second and nobody out. Drilled to deep left for Castro. Gone! A line drive home run. Just like that, it's 2-0. Last night it was Ramirez against Halladay in the first. Tonight it's Castro against Lee. Bam.
Galaxy, the official remodeler of the Chicago Cubs, brings you pitch tracks, and much like Halladay last night, jumping on that first pitch is a pretty good plan of attack against Cliff Lee. He wants to jump ahead in the count. He likes to use his fastball early in the count, and Starlin Castro was all over that one for his 3rd bomb of the year.
Second career homer at Wrigley Field, first this year for Castro. So they jump ahead of Cliff Lee tonight here in the opening inning.
Well, Len, the other day we talked at length about the controversy between the Yankees and the Blue Jays and sign stealing and sign relaying, and the Phillies through the first 2 games of this series are using multiple signs even with nobody on base.
Popped up by Ramirez, and it will find the seats. Well, the Phillies, was it last year, the year before, were accused of possibly stealing some signs. Nick Billmeyer, right?
Yeah, not from the field, though, from
right.
the bullpen out in center field.
Some binoculars. That was in Coors Field. Strike, it's 2-2. Down the right field line and twisting just out of play. So how about Cliff Lee? Gave up 1 run in June in 42 innings. That was to the Cubs. He's already allowed 10 runs in 3 starts here in July. 2 of those against the Cubs. Having said that, he's 4-0 lifetime against the Northsiders. The ball hit well. Victorino going after it. It's going to be over his head, in and out of the ivy. 3 extra base hits to start the bottom of the first.
Great approach that time by Aramis Ramirez. He waits back on that curveball, gets the barrel of the bat on it, and lines it over the head of Shane Victorino just to the left of straightaway center field. Keep the line moving. We talked about it with Halladay last night, and the weather got to him in the ball game last night. But against Cliff Lee, same idea. You never know how many opportunities you're going to get to score runs, so you really have to take advantage of every base run.
Low for ball 1 to Jeff Baker. He's played all over the diamond. Corner spots in the outfield, first, second, and third on the infield. 3 for 6 lifetime against Lee, and he's hit .484 against the Phillies. That's why he's in the cleanup spot between Ramirez and Bird tonight.
And normally we say the computer got Darwin Barney. If he's on the bench tonight and Jeff Baker starting, you'd normally say the computer got him, but Darwin Barney 2 for 4 lifetime against Cliff Lee. Just a night off for the Cubs second baseman. Jeff Baker getting an opportunity to face a lefty. That's what he does well.
How about Joey Votto? Left-handed hitter hitting .363 versus lefties. 2-1 pitch. It is caught by Rollins. That's a line out. Job by Ramirez to head back to second. Now the former Philly Marlon Byrd.
Mike Baker may have hit it off the end of the bat just a little bit. Soft line drive. Jimmy Rollins able to get the glove underneath to catch that ball in the air. Ramirez read it all the way off the bat.
Byrd with success versus Cliff Lee. 6 for 15. That's a .400 average. Up and in, ball 1. He is 32 years old. He's from Benton, Arkansas. Went to the University of Arkansas, and the Expos took him in the 4th round in the 2000 draft. Nice backhanded pick by Martinez on the short hop to get the out. That saved a run. That ball's into the corner, and Ramirez scores easily.
We talked about this Phillies defense in the ball game last night. Best fielding percentage in the National League, fewest errors. Only the White Sox have made fewer errors in all of Major League Baseball, and that's a pretty snazzy play by Michael Martinez. Even has time to check Ramirez, make sure he's going back to second before throwing across the diamond for the out.
And with 2 outs, it's Alfonso Soriano. Phillies with just 2 errors their last 64 innings coming into tonight.
Well, of the defenders on the field right now, Jimmy Rollins has made the most errors on the season, 5, playing shortstop.
Just to compare that to the Cubs, who've had a lot of troubles defensively, Matt Garza has 5 errors. Quanti hoping Alfonso gets into one of his hot streaks here soon. We've seen it, Bob. When he does, he will go off on a home run rampage. He did early in April, but really hasn't hit for much power since.
What a huge addition that would be to the Cubs lineup if Soriano started to drive the ball.
Called strike 3, and that'll end the inning. But Starlin Castro cranks his 3rd homer of the season. They make Lee throw 25 pitches, and they lead 2-0.
From the ball game last night, Aramis Ramirez with his 17th home run of the season, coming on the first pitch he saw from Roy Halladay. No surprise there. That was his 8th first pitch home run of the season, leading the majors, 1 ahead of teammate Carlos Pena. Line drive into those left center field bleachers, giving the Cubs the lead. Freeze Cam is brought to you by Frost Brewed Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer.
Tonight, Starlin Castro with a 2-run shot in the first off Cliff Lee, after Reed Johnson picked up a leadoff double. Big pull shift against first baseman Ryan Howard, who saw his 18-game Wrigley Field hitting streak come to an end last night. Slow curve at 70, in for a strike. Shane Victorino on deck. He came off the DL after the game last night. Infielder Pete Orr was optioned to AAA Lehigh Valley. That's pulled into the right field corner for Ryan Howard, and it lands just foul.
Galaxy pitch tracks. Rolling a slow curve ball up there on the outer third of the plate. Howard just a little bit out front. Ball hooked into foul territory down the right field line just in time.
I'm used to seeing much bigger slugging numbers for Ryan Howard. Swing and a miss, strike 3.
No fastballs in that sequence. Change up to start it. Slow breaking ball in the middle, and comes back with another change up for a swinging strike 3.
Shane Victorino coming off the disabled list for the second time this season. He was voted in as the National League's 34th All-Star, but was not able to participate. His teammate Placido Polanco was actually voted in as the starting third baseman, but due to his back injury, he was unable to go. Funny moment on Sunday while on a rehab assignment. Victorino was playing with Double-A Reading. He hit a long foul ball in his first at bat down the left field line. He thought it was a home run. He got all the way to third before his manager, who was a third base coach, told him, shame they called it foul. He's between third and home, and he stops. It says it's foul. Apparently the first base umpire failed to tell him that it wasn't a home run.
Get some road work in. He needs to get his legs in shape before he can come back to the big leagues anyway.
Bird and Johnson, and it'll be the center fielder to make the grab. Follow all of tonight's stats and info in real time with Cubs in-game live only at CSNChicago.com. Brought to you by Honda.
The
80 degrees and calm tonight.
I was going to say the fog has lifted. It was a very unusual day here in Chicago. A lot of fog around the lake and in most of the Wrigleyville area, but it's pretty much cleared up now.
Technically the wind blowing in east at 5 miles an hour when we started, but the flags are not moving at the moment. If you could see those flags, you'd see the Pirates with that top flag in the middle leading the NL Central. Half game up on St. Louis and Milwaukee. Swing and a miss on a curve. 1-2. Fouled back.
And we talk a lot about advance reports and who's hot and who's not coming into a series. Who do you not want to let beat you? But each individual pitcher has guys on the opposing team that he keeps an eye out for. And this is the guy for Matt Garza. Raul Ibanez, 4 for 12 lifetime with a couple of home runs. And I'm sure Matt Garza is well aware of those numbers.
Thought Ross Gload might be in the lineup. Usually comes in as a pinch hitter. He's 5 for 11 against Matt, but if he faces him tonight, it'll be off the bench. Count holding at 2-2. Want to send out some happy birthday wishes tonight. Cubs team physician Dr. Steven Adams celebrating a birthday. How old is Doc?
Well, once again, I've said it in the past, that would involve carbon dating. We don't have those capabilities up here in the booth.
Well, happy birthday, Doc.
Absolutely.
Also, a happy birthday to Wayne Messmer, who spent his birthday with a sterling rendition of the Star-Spangled Banner before the game tonight. Also, big happy birthday wish to huge Cub fan rooting on the Cubs in Phoenix, Arizona, Cassie Schmidt, in the dirt for ball 4. It's a first Philly base runner And it'll bring up Dominic Brown.
Watch the Cubs take on the Phillies tomorrow at 1:20 right here at Wrigley Field. Be sure to arrive early. The first 10,000 fans will receive a Cubs chip and dip platter, compliments of Frito-Lay. For more information and to purchase tickets, visit Cubs.com.
Speaking of tomorrow, it's expected to be really, really hot again. Getting a bit of a respite here tonight. And the Cubs have some reminders about what they will be providing if you're coming out to the ballpark tomorrow. Complimentary water at all the gates, cooling stations at the gates, automatic mister devices in the bleacher concourse and patio area. There will be members of the Cubs staff walking around the ballpark with portable misters. Extra medical personnel will be on hand. So the Cubs are thinking about your well-being whenever you're here at Wrigley Field. The misters feel good tonight, but again, feels about 15 degrees cooler than last night, and that's a good thing. We will have Game 3 for you right here on Comcast Sportsnet. Vance Worley, a rookie, against veteran Ryan Dempster. On the hands of Brown, and he fought it off 1-2.
One more birthday wish here early. A happy 15th birthday to Zach Enriquez from Maggie.
One-two pitch buried in the dirt, 2-2.
Also like to give a shout out to my friends at Floyd's Barbershop on Clark. I felt like Pedro from Napoleon Dynamite. You know, the hair just made me feel hot. We'll get trimmed up a little bit today.
Floyd the barber. Oh, Andy.
Floyd was off duty today. Bobby took care of it.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Just again, it's full 3-2. I'll give Ibanez a head start. Line foul to left. Guy is rooting. I guess he'll be happy either way. He's got a Cubs cap and a Phillies jersey on.
And he's got a baseball, so he's going to go home happy either way.
Yep. Another 3-2, and yet another foul. Place was electric last night. You just plopped yourself into the ballpark and didn't know where these two teams were in the standings. You'd have thought the Cubs just clinched a playoff spot. It's a great thing about this ballpark. On any given night or afternoon, it feels like the place to be. In baseball, for that matter, I cannot imagine last night anywhere else in baseball, Bob, that the atmosphere was better than it was here.
Especially under the conditions. I mean, it was just stifling heat here last night, but you'd never know it by the reaction of the fans. They love good baseball.
Another 3-2 and another walk. So that's 17 pitches to the last two guys, both resulting in walks. And it'll bring up Carlos Ruiz. Cubs did a great job offensively making Roy Halladay work early on, and he talked to the media today. He said he felt a lot better when he got back to the team hotel, got some rest. Fully expects to make his next start on time. They've got an off day Thursday, so his next start scheduled to be on Sunday against the Padres.
I talked to his pitching coach, Rich Doobie, before the ball game today just to see how Doc Halladay was feeling. And he didn't use it as an excuse, but he said that the Doc is very much a creature of habit. Like most starting pitchers at the major league level, there's a very specific routine they go through between starts. He felt that All-Star game and all that entails maybe threw him off his schedule just a little bit too much.
Baker throws out Ruiz as the Phillies strand 2 after a couple of 2-out walks. 2-0 Cubs. Light Northside Baseball viewing party. Come by Tommy's on Waukegan in Morton Grove to win prizes, enjoy Coors Light, and watch the Northsiders take on Houston. Be there this Friday at Tommy's on Waukegan in Morton Grove. Got his Harry Carey glasses on. Cubs lead 2-0 on a Starlin Castro shot off Cliff Lee. Well, if you get a chance, a great website, Baseball Nation, SBNation.com, MLB.SBNation.com. Jeff Sullivan with a great take on Roy Halladay last night, saying the conventional wisdom was that the dehydration proved that Roy Halladay is actually human. He said that's totally incorrect. He pointed out all the other guys who did not have to leave the game early. He said, quote, heat can be a human vulnerability, but it can be a mechanical vulnerability too. And given that all the other players hung in while Halladay came out, the only proper conclusion we can reach here is that Halladay is a temperature sensitive robot whose systems malfunction. It's pretty good. Human, please. This is the most convincing evidence yet that Roy Halladay is something else entirely.
Well, he is something else entirely.
Carlos Pena with a milestone home run last night, kind of lost in the shuffle, the 250th of his career. 66th left-handed batter in Major League history to get the 250. Also the 6th time and the 5th in a row that he's hit 20 in a season. He's also now 4 for 4 in the series. Running hard to second. The throw there is not in time. It's a double. 4 extra base hits for the Cubs here early on.
Carlos Pena had only been 6 for 32 lifetime against Cliff Lee. They saw each other an awful lot in the American League, but he too tomahawks a high pitch into right field. Dominic Brown with probably the strongest throwing arm in that Phillies outfield, but too late to get Pena at second base. 9th double of the year for the Cubs first baseman.
Now Giovanni Soto. Bob, you talked about Roy Halladay's routine getting thrown off. He started the All-Star game. Well, Cliff Lee was the next NL pitcher. He gave up 3 hits and a run in an inning and 2/3. This is his first outing since then, so it's been 6 full days of rest for Lee. It's the 6th time in All-Star game history that teammates were the first 2 pitchers for one league. That according to Elias.
I mentioned earlier, Len, that Carlos Ruiz behind the plate for the Phillies going through a series of signs even when there are no runners on base. That can be problematic. The catcher are not on the same page. If that pitcher starts to shake off signs and you're going through a sequence of 5 or 6 signals, it can really throw off the rhythm of a pitcher and delay a ball game. But these Phillies pitchers have the ultimate confidence in Carlos Ruiz. They're going to throw whatever he calls 99% of the time.
They rarely shake him off. Goes back to the quote from last night that we alluded to in Sports Illustrated. He doesn't feel like it's a pitcher and a catcher. It's one entity, the battery. Into right and a base hit. Pena hustling around third. He's going to be stopped by Ivan De Jesus. First and third, nobody out with Garza coming up. They had teed off on Cliff Lee. That ball not hit hard, but that's the Cubs' 5th hit already.
Fastball off the plate inside, jams Giovanni Soto. He just flips a little fly ball out there in front of Dominic Brown in right field, bringing Matt Garza to the plate with runners at the corners. We would certainly expect a sacrifice bunt attempt here. Hopefully Matt will be able to get it down. It would be his first of the season. He's had some issues with that lumber. 1 for 33 when he swings away.
Takes a strike, did not show bunt.
Judging by Ivan De Jesus' reaction at third base, I think Matt Garza missed the bunt sign there on the first pitch. Ivan kind of raised his hands as he looked into home plate and then went through the signs once again.
Bunts it foul. He's in the hole 0-2. Well, a bunt here by Garza really is a no-brainer. The last thing Cubs would want is for him to swing into a double play, even if it does score a run. He's squaring on the 0-2, takes it back 1-2. Bunted foul. That's a strikeout.
Well, obviously not what Mike Quade was hoping would happen during Matt Garza's at bat, but not the worst thing that could happen. It was a bad combination of the hitter at the plate and the runners on base. Giovanni Soto, the runner at first, had a very short lead. Does not run that well from a standing start. If Garza would have happened to bunt that ball hard at somebody, the Phillies may have tried to go for 2 up the middle of the field. He thankfully only made 1 out on the play.
Problem here, of course, is now Lee could get out of it if he can coax a ground ball at one of his infielders. And he's going to toss to first. Pena was chatting with Ivan de Jesus. I think he was on the bag, but Lee looked like he wanted to throw over to Martinez at third. Trying to catch Pena. Fastball missed up. 1 ball, no strikes. We chose the Phillies over the Rangers and the Yankees, who offered more than the 5 years and $120 million he got from the Phillies. Second stint with Philadelphia, swing and a miss. He was traded to Seattle after the 2009 season. He felt the Phillies gave him the best chance to win. His family likes it. In Philadelphia, so we went from Cleveland to Philly to Seattle to Texas back to Philly, all since 2009. Foul tip, strike 2.
Maybe it's the way Charlie Manuel talks. You mentioned Cliff Lee from Arkansas. Charlie Manuel has that southern drawl. Good old country boy. I like the way you talk.
Charlie's from West Virginia.
He just feels comfortable. Sounds like home. What the Phillies had for post-game spread last night?
Go ahead.
French fried taters. Yeah, you know, we joke about it, but there is something to be said for that. If you're comfortable in your surroundings, if you feel like you have a good rapport with the coaching staff, you got along well in the particular city that you played in, and Cliff Lee said he had nothing but good times when he pitched for Phillies the first time around, so why not?
First and third, 1 out. Cubs already leading 2-0. For their first series win since taking 3 of 4 from the Brewers over a month ago. And he got him a big strikeout, 2 down, a chance for Lee now to get out of it as he faces a guy who took him deep in the first, Starlin Castro.
It's kind of odd, Len. Reed Johnson got that double to right field in his first at bat on that particular pitch. Look where Cliff Lee threw every pitch in that at bat. The same location where Reed Johnson got the hit the first time around. Well, Cliff Lee didn't believe it. He got to show me again, and that time he got the better of Reed Johnson going up the ladder with that fastball away. It's against everything you would normally expect in that situation. As you mentioned, Cliff Lee, a ground ball at one of his infielders away from getting out of the inning, but instead of throwing down low in the zone with some movement down, he chose to go with high four-seam fastballs and ultimately got Reed Johnson to swing at one out of the zone for strike 3.
And you know, guys in that spot want to swing at the high pitch to try to lift it in the air for a potential sac fly. Kick in the 1-0. Sprayed foul. The facing of the upper deck. 1-1 to Castro. Looking for his 36th game of at least 2 hits. Third in the NL with 35 multi-hit contests. His double play partner Darwin Barney's in the top 5 as well. with 32. Tough one to take. He did, and it was just inside. 2-2.
Little extra zip on that fastball at 93, just off of the inside corner.
Comes back with a dandy of a changeup. And a missed opportunity for the Cubs. First and third, no outs.
But you don't have to remember it to love it. Prices and participation may vary for a limited time, a la carte only.
And don't miss the action as the Cubs host the Astros this Friday here at Wrigley Field. Game time 1:20, but be sure to arrive early. First 10,000 adults 21 and older get a Cubs tumbler, compliments of Budweiser. For more info and to purchase tickets, visit Cubs.com. Cliff Lee will lead off for the Phillies, his first at bat tonight. He's knocked in 6 this year. He's had a good year at the plate. 2 doubles, a homer. He has a stolen base. He's batting .220.
Watch that first pitch.
That'll work. Soft liner with a broken bat. 1 away.
Now be very aggressive with the first pitch to Jimmy Rollins. After a 1-pitch, 1-out at bat by Cliff Lee, you would have to assume Jimmy Rollins is going to come to the plate and take at least a couple of pitches, maybe until he gets a strike. So be aggressive. Come right at him with that first pitch. Nice.
Rollins needs 1 steal for his 10th career 20 stolen base campaign. He's only had 1 full season without 20. That was last year, but he was on the DL twice. He stole 17. after the fastball, couldn't catch up to it. 1-2. Sitting on 99 career triples. It's going to carry out to Reed Johnson. 2 away.
Next up, third base number 19, Michael Martinez.
Martinez hit a ball very hard in the first inning, right at Carlos Pena. Rule 5 pick from the Washington Nationals. He's a 28-year-old rookie. Signed with Washington when he was 22. Foul tip to make it 1-2. Garza has not yet won in July, but his last outing he should have. He's a victim of a blown save in the ninth. Carlos Marmol couldn't hold that 2-0 lead on Thursday. It's about a couple of inches foul. Garza's last win came against the Rockies on June 27th. 7 1/3. He gave up 3 runs.
For me, Matt Garza has Martinez set up for another high fastball here. We'll see if he chooses to go that route. Looks like Gio's moving inside. Ball in the dirt instead. Martinez doesn't have a lot of power. Only 1 home run this season. He likes to chase the high fastball, and when he makes contact, it's usually a lazy fly to the outfield.
Two on the way, and that one darted down and out of the strike zone to get Martinez. 2-0 Cubs.
take place at the Hilton Chicago on January 13th, 14th, and 15th, 2012. Rooms are available now by calling the Hilton Chicago at 312-922-4400 and asking for the Cubs convention rate. Weekend passes will go on sale in early November. For more information, as always, visit Cubs.com.
Sean Marion, Chicago guy. He had to actually throw 2 first pitches. First one didn't go well, so he got a do-over.
A mulligan. Second one was good, though.
Congrats to Sean. For the world champion Dallas Mavs. Called strike. And Ramirez.
Well, that almost looked like a cross-up the way Carlos Ruiz caught that pitch. And a good curveball on the outside corner, but he caught it very awkwardly.
By the way, assuming the NBA for the moment does play and play on time, the Bulls will open the season in Dallas. So it'll be a very festive night for the Mavericks. 2 strikes to Aramis. Here's Lee's next offering. At the end of the bat, popped up. Ryan Howard with no play. We mentioned Halladay feeling better. The Phillies also encouraged by Roy Oswalt's side session today. He's on the disabled list with back trouble. Outside 1-2. Thinking maybe he'll be back in early August. Swing and the miss. Got him on a changeup. He has now struck out 4 consecutive batters.
The 3 to end the second inning were huge. Leadoff double by Pena. He moved to third base on the Giovanni Soto single, and then back-to-back-to-back strikeouts to bail himself out of a jam.
Baker lined to the shortstop Rollins. And his first at bat. Trade rumor mill is getting hot and heavy. The 2 names I keep reading about: Carlos Beltran and Ubaldo Jimenez. Again, these are all just reports and various whispers that you read and hear about, but it sounds like the Mets are willing to take on most, if not all, of Beltran's salary for the rest of the year in exchange for more in return. Can help them down the road. I do think it's safe to say when we see the Mets in early September, their roster will look a little different than the one we saw here at Wrigley. Already trading K-Rod last week to Milwaukee. One-two pitch. Rollins to Howard for the out.
Well, there's no question. When healthy and motivated, Carlos Beltran, one of the best players in the game. Unfortunately, he's had his share of injuries, especially over the last 4 or 5 years. Occasionally, he doesn't look like the most inspired player on the field, but when he decides he wants to take charge of a ball game, he is still capable of doing that.
We will not see Jeff Keppinger this weekend. He has been traded from the Astros to the Giants. A couple of right-handed pitchers. Bird chops to Martinez. And a 1-2-3 for Cliff Lee, who seems to be getting comfortable on the Wrigley Field mound tonight. Cubs 2, Phillies nothing as we go to the 4th. Brought to you by KFC. Feed 4 or more with a KFC 10-piece family feast, just $20. And our AT&T trivia question. You've got a 33% chance to get it right. Which pitcher has the lowest career postseason ERA?
I already guessed wrong once today.
Lefty Carlton, Curt Schilling, or Cliff Lee? You already guessed wrong on that question?
Yeah. Okay.
I'm guessing you guessed Curt Schilling.
I did.
Yeah, that would be mine. I mean, I guess the fallback is always the guy actually participating in the game you're doing, so that would be Lee, but it's hard to go against a Hall of Famer.
I think Tamara tried to sway us a little bit tonight because Steve Carlton was in bigger font than the other two guys, so maybe trying to lead you down that road too. We don't need any help getting confused, that's for sure.
No. Two strikes to Chase Utley. Now 1-2.
I had the great fortune or misfortune, however you look at it, of facing Steve Carlton quite a bit in my career, and man, I'll tell you what, it probably felt a lot like the Cubs against Roy Halladay last night and Cliff Lee tonight. You like to challenge the best in the game, and back in those days, Steve Carlton was the best in the game. I said it many times. He had a slider that, I know this is physically impossible, but it seemed like he could control the pitch after he let it go. He would throw a slider, and if you took it, it would stay in the strike zone, and if you swung at it, it would end up at your back foot. And they looked like the same pitch coming out of his hand. You really couldn't determine whether his slider was going to stay in the zone or end up in the dirt.
Phillies don't have a hit. They did take back-to-back two-out walks in the second. Garza wants the harder breaking ball, the slider here on the 2-2, and Utley didn't bite. 3-2. Jose Reyes is off the DL in the Mets lineup tonight, and they lead the Cardinals 4-2 in the 8th. Reyes is 1 for 4 with a run. The aforementioned Carlos Beltran, 2 for 2, 2 doubles, 2 walks. Reyes had a strained left hammy. High fly ball, not that well hit, and it'll be an easy play for Soriano. Hey, fans couldn't get tickets to the Cardinals series at Wrigley. Cubs Destinations has spots available for this highly anticipated matchup. All standard packages include great tickets, first class hotel accommodations, a special Cubs gift bag, a tour of the ballpark, and a private meet and greet with a current Cubs player. For more info, visit Cubs.com. Ontario in the Cardinal lineup, but did you mention a suspension earlier?
I thought that's what I saw on one of the websites. Let me check it.
2 games.
Yeah, 2 games for bumping an umpire.
Bump.
Bump. Or you can call it second base.
So he has appealed. The argument came on Sunday. Hit hard but foul. Mike Machlinsky was the umpire. 1-2 on the way. Ground ball to Baker out in shallow right. And he'll get Ryan Howard for out number 2. Carlos Pena joining the Menards grounds crew today, helping water the infield dirt near first base. Man of many talents. Breaking ball strike to Victorino. Well, we just saw the Florida Marlins for a 4-game series. Talked about Jack McKeon and the fact that he is not afraid to make unorthodox, if not head-scratching moves whenever the moment hits. Well, he yanked Randy Choate in the middle of an at-bat for the 2nd time already this season last night in New York. Choate not too pleased about it. It was 2-0 when he got pulled. Matt Garza's dealing tonight. Cubs lead 2-0. Which of these three has the lowest career postseason ERA? Carlton, Schilling, or Lee? The answer is Cliff Lee, 2.13. Schilling at 223. Carlton at 326. Lee with the highest World Series earned run average. He has a chance to whittle it down. The other two guys don't. Pretty cool story from the 09 World Series as Soriano sends it in the air. Victorino will cut it off, make the catch in left center. 1 pitch, 1 out here in the 4th. Lee's pitching for the Phillies, ready to face the Yankees. Throws a complete game, 6-1 win. No walks, 10 strikeouts. The taxi that took him to the park that night was stuck in traffic. It was getting late. So Lee found the nearest subway stop, rode the 6, then got on the 4, got to Yankee Stadium in time. Nobody recognized him. It's so out of the ordinary, probably nobody even considered that night's starting pitcher would ride the train to the ballpark.
Looking at Cliff Lee's postseason statistics in the World Series, the 4.55 ERA, lofty last year against the San Francisco Giants, a 6.94, but 4.55 overall in the World Series. League Championship Series, however, 0. Division Series 1.11 in his career.
Bounce to Ryan Howard. By the way, before we leave, Steve Carlton, you did a nice job against him in your career. You were 9 for 34 for a .265 average. You knocked in 6 runs. You hit a double, a home run, walked 5 times, struck out 7 times.
And if I remember correctly, and usually I don't, the double broke up a no-hitter in the 8th inning at Candlestick Park. And when the writers asked him after the game, what was the pitch you threw to Brenly, he said, who?
0-1 on Giovanni Soto. Cue shot that deflects off the glove of Lee, but Utley still has plenty of time. And Cliff Lee now cruising. He's sent 9 straight down. 5 pitches in the 4th inning to get 3 outs.
$5-3. If you're the 500th texter, you could win 5 $5 footlong subs from Subway. Be careful, it's going to get stuck like that if you're not careful.
Matt Garza has not allowed a hit through the first 4 innings. Cliff Lee has looked like Cliff Lee after a rough first inning and got out of a major jam in the second. Nice night here at the ballpark. Raul Ibanez will start it for the Phillies. Keeping an eye on the first place Pirates. Pittsburgh 1, Cincinnati nothing in the top of the 8th. 7 hits combined in that one. Pirates are all alone in first. Garza's 0-1. Curveball hit foul. Milwaukee is at Arizona tonight. Giovanni Gallardo against Barry Enright. Brewers are 33-14 at home, and they're 18-32 on the road. This will be Pena's play, unassisted. Pretty tight right now, and the Reds kind of lying in the weeds, just 4 games back and 2 games under 500.
And every time we show you those standings, we tell you about the Pirates. They basically are doing it against the Central. They're 10 games over against the National League Central, 4 games under against the East, 1 game under against the West. They were 1 game over 500 in interleague play this year, but really beating up on their own division.
Long swing by Dominic Brown. 0-1. Curveball. Carlos Zambrano looking on. He will not pitch in this series. That's the first Phillies hit, and Brown will have a double on an 0-2 pitch. Went with that fastball the other way.
You said it on the first pitch to Dominic Brown, a slow, long, loopy swing on a pitch that was up in the strike zone. This time a fastball at the knees on the outside corner. Just drops the barrel of the bat on it, shoots it down into that left field corner for the Phillies' first hit.
Slider strike on Ruiz. The Astros lead the Nationals 6-2 in the 5th. Mike Morse with his 17th home run for the Nationals. Clint Barmas with his 5th for Houston. 0-2. What a dismal year the Astros have had. They're 31-65. And that includes 21 games under 500 at home. Ooh, that's rough. 15 wins at Minute Maid Park. Process of being sold. Some rumors that they're involved in discussions by MLB in terms of realignment, although Drayton McClain, the current owner, has said that he doesn't think that'll happen. Pop-up as Pena's going to have just enough room to make the catch near the camera well. 2 down.
Ball wasn't really popped that high in the air. Carlos Pena measuring his steps as he got over there close to the barrier, able to make a catch, and then quickly wheels around to check that runner at second base to make sure he's not trying to advance.
What color would you call that?
Color of victory. I don't know, but it sure is beautiful.
Yeah,
what a night here at the ballpark tonight.
Lee's home run on July 9th against Atlanta came off Tommy Hanson. was the 10th pitch of that particular at bat. He's ahead in the count here, 2-0. It's 2-1. Another foul, 2-2. Around the runner at second. He picked up the Phillies' first hit with 1 out this inning. Swing and a miss. He struck him out. A slider to end the inning. That's the 3rd punch out for Garza as he leads Cliff Lee 2-0. So far in this series. Phillies with the best record in all of baseball, but the Cubs have dominated so far. Cliff Lee will face 9-1-2 in the Cubs lineup. We'll have Vance Worley and Ryan Dempster on the mound tomorrow, and Ryan hoping for a Cubs win, and then that you come on out to his annual charity event, the Dempster Foundation Casino Night, which will be held at the legendary Palmer House in downtown Chicago. And for more information, please go to DempsterFamilyFoundation.org. It's going to be a wonderful event tomorrow night for a great cause. Support children and families affected by the 22q deletion. And a lot of not only Cubs celebrities but Chicago sports celebrities will be on hand. 1 ball, 1 strike on Matt Garza. Bounce to Chase Utley, 1 away.
This is one of those particular innings that really sets up well for Cliff Lee facing Matt. We talked about his futile attempts to get some base hits and put down bunts this year. Almost guaranteed you're going to face the top of the order with one out and nobody on.
Ball one on Reed Johnson. Fly ball deep left. Reed Johnson off the wall. And he'll hold it second with a one-out double. He gave that ball a ride.
Probably a home run last night, middle of the plate, 84 miles an hour, and Reed gets a barrel on it. Unfortunately, hit a line drive rather than a high fly ball. Bangs off the ivy out there in the corner. Away from Ibanez momentarily, but he made a nice recovery to hold Reed Johnson at second base with a double.
Snaps a streak of 10 straight retired by Cliff Lee. Curve is low. Cliff Lee has 4 shutouts this year. Leads all National League starters in strikeouts to walks ratio. 3rd in innings, 4th in strikeouts. And he finds himself trailing tonight. A 1-1 to Castro. Just missed the inside corner.
Now, so far in this ball game, when Cliff Lee has missed off the plate inside with that 4-seam fastball, he's come back with the straight changeup away on the next pitch. He struck out Ramirez leading off the 3rd inning on exactly that pitch. Got Castro to chase one back in the 2nd inning.
Rollins can't get it. Johnson's going to be stopped at 3rd. On a base hit by Castro, his 2nd tonight.
A nice piece of hitting by Starlin. Kept the bat in the zone a long time. That was a changeup that was drifting back toward the middle of the plate. Starlin able to keep his hands back. Shoots it past Jimmy Rollins into left field. Most teams try to run on Raul Ibanez, but you could clearly see Ibanez had the ball before Reed Johnson was even 2 steps away from 3rd base. No chance to send him, especially with the hottest hitter in your lineup. He's making his way to the plate.
That is Aramis Ramirez with a double and a strikeout tonight. Wind again blowing straight down. As peaceful as it could get. And he pops it up on the infield. Jimmy Rollins, 2 down. Time now for our Xfinity high-speed action. The Cubs have the lead because of this home run before a lot of Cub fans were settled into their seats.
Line drive home run into the basket in left field by Starlin Castro, his third of the season. Taking his cue from Aramis Ramirez, picking on the first pitch he saw from Cliff Lee.
Baker down. Curve for a strike. Things gone final yet, but a few games are close. The Orioles leading the Red Sox 6-2 in the ninth. Boston won 7 straight against the Orioles. Derek Lee with his 10th home run for the O's tonight. Baker in a battle here, down 0-2 to Cliff Lee. Here it is, right down the middle. So Lee gets out of a first and third, 1 out. And it's still 2-0 Cubs at the end of 5. Continue on GMC Sportsnet Central. Head coach Joel Quenneville talks about setting the tone in training camp and playing with an edge, plus his thoughts on the most controversial offseason acquisition. Tonight after post-game live on GMC Sportsnet Central, only on Comcast Sportsnet. Fans' best friend. Cubs pitchers in this series have held Phillies batters to a 125 average, 6 hits and 48 at bats. That's why they won 6-1 last night behind Rodrigo Lopez and company, and it's why they lead 2-0 tonight with Matt Garza on the hill. Facing the top of their order, Jimmy Rollins. Strike one. Fastball, strike two. This will be Jeff Baker's play. Watch Comcast Sportsnet game replays on demand with Xfinity TV from Comcast. Don't miss the action. Call 1-800-XFINITY today. Garza attended Fresno State. He studied civil engineering. He's about a year and a half away in terms of credits from getting his degree in engineering, and thinking about finishing up after his baseball career. You think you could go back to school?
I think I'd be much better prepared to go to school now than I was at 18.
You still have nightmares about being late for a test or not studying, or you know, that one dream everybody has?
Those have kind of passed, but I'll probably have one tonight now that you brought it up. I majored in academic survival for 2 years. It took a little longer for the light bulb to go on.
Give yourself enough credit. You taught at one point in the off seasons.
Well, yeah, I eventually got my degree. It took me an extra quarter of student teaching in the follow-up classes at Ohio University, and it came in handy. I got my teaching certificate and actually taught in Fresno. You mentioned Matt Garza going to Fresno State, as Martinez will take ball 4, 1-out runner for the Phillies. Yeah, I was a substitute teacher in the wintertime for 2 years out in the Fresno Unified School District. So I've told the story many times in the past. That's where I had Rex Hudler in one of my classes at Bullard High School. Well, he was on the roster, wasn't in class that often, but it was the first time I met the Wonder Dog. That was before he was the Wonder Dog.
One on, one out. Here's Chase Utley. Almost looked like Utley wanted to lean in and get hit by that strike. Utley went to UCLA. It's a little joke. What happens when the smog clears? UCLA. Runner goes, swing and a miss. Soto got it late though, and it's going to skip into center. Gio, I don't even think knew that Martinez was running at first, and then he probably should have just held on to it.
Yeah, I mean, he screened a little bit by the left-handed hitting Chase Utley. You don't get a real good look at that runner at first base, and then you compound it with a pitch that was in the dirt. He dropped down to a shin guard, and by the time he realized Martinez was running, makes a bad throw to second. Castro waves at it. It heads on into center field. That'll be a stolen base and a throwing error on Giovanni Soto.
2 strikes on Utley, but you have a runner at first, 1 out. He's just going to try to make some contact and get the Phillies' first run. Ramirez even with a bag at third, but everybody else back.
And we've talked a lot about Starlin Castro and his progression as a major league player, and that's one of those plays I think in the future he'll realize we have no chance to get this out at second base. I need to block this ball and make sure it stays on the infield. He's kind of tried to do an Ole, pick the ball out of the dirt, and it got past him and Jeff Baker into center field, allowing Martinez to advance on to third base with 1 out.
Swing and a miss, a big one for Garza for the second out.
We talked a lot about the Matt Garza curveball coming into this game tonight, but it's been the slider that he's gone to all these left-handed hitters in this Phillies lineup. Sets it up with a good hard fastball on the inner third of the plate, and then comes right back with that hard slider in the same location, breaking down and in out of the strike zone.
Three infielders to the right of second base against Ryan Howard. He was trying to find Sheffield, not right field.
He's been doing that in batting practice the last couple days. He's putting on a show here at Wrigley Field.
Rookie of the Year in 2005. He was the MVP of the NL the following year. NLCS MVP in 2009. He's led the majors in homers twice and in RBIs 3 times. Native of St. Louis. Leading the way along with Prince Fielder again this year. Three and one. Victorino is on deck, 0 for 2. His return game from the disabled list.
You don't see that very often. A 3-1 fastball to Ryan Howard, and he was as tardy as he could be. Granted, it was 95 miles an hour, but that 3-1 count, the big power hitters usually gear it up a little early to get ready to pull that ball out of the ballpark. Howard couldn't get around on the last one.
And he got him on the slider. He strikes out Utley and Howard with a runner at third as he preserves a 2-0 lead. That was a changeup, actually. Wrigley Field from the players who lived them firsthand. Now you have the chance. Join former Cubs Lee Smith or Jody Davis on these special tours on August 2nd, 4th, and 6th. For more information or to purchase tickets, call 1-800-THE-CUBS or visit Cubs.com. Marlon Byrd up in the air, right center. It's Victorino to make the grab. Alfonso Soriano for the 3rd time. The final in Pittsburgh, 1-0 Pirates. James McDonald over Mike Leake. Andrew McCutchen RBI groundout in the first inning. It was the only run tonight.
Wow.
Pirates were held to 4 hits, but they won anyway.
Brewers up 5-0 already in the first inning against the Diamondbacks, and Barry Enright tonight. Yuniesky Betancourt with a home run.
Giovanni Gallardo looking for a bounce back performance after struggling in Colorado his last time out. Victorino almost misjudged it. Ball might have been knuckling a little bit. A new season, a new look. Join Vineline, the official magazine of the Chicago Cubs, is celebrating its 25th anniversary here in 2011. Get the backstage pass to how the Cubs live and play on the field as well as off. Subscriptions start at just $29.95. For more information and to order, visit Cubs.com/Vineline. Peña's 4 for 5 in the series. Make it 5 for 6.
Two base hits against a lefty, not any lefty, one of the best lefties in the game tonight. Peña has struggled against left-handed pitching most of this season, but it's out and around. A pitch on the outer third of the plate, hooks it back to right field for his second knock of the game.
Rockies have gone 0-5 this month against the Braves. They have a 6-0 lead over Atlanta in the bottom of the third tonight. Ubaldo Jimenez pitching for the Rockies. Brandon Beachy still on, struggling tonight for the Braves. Cargo and Tulo with home runs. Carlos Gonzalez in that leadoff spot for the Rockies. Two and one to Soto. Change up 2-2.
Looks like Gio's head's flying just a little bit, not really tracking that ball all the way into the hitting zone. It will cause you to swing at some borderline pitches or pitches that are completely out of the strike zone if you don't track them all the way in.
Lee ready, and a 2-2. Fastball a little bit low, maybe inside. Cleveland swept a doubleheader at Minnesota yesterday, and Indians leading 1-0 in the 8th tonight. Asdrubal Cabrera with a sac fly in the 5th in support of Justin Masterson, who's been masterful. There goes Peña, and that's fouled by Soto. Mets beat the Cardinals 4-2. Start that series in New York. Dylan G got his 9th win. He beat Kyle Loesch. Ground ball, Michael Martinez. And that's the inning. Cubs with 2 runs in the first inning on the homer by Castro. That's been it for the scoring through 6. Steaks. He heads to Harry Carey's Italian Steakhouse in Chicago, Lombard or Rosemont. Call 773 Holy Cow or visit harrycareys.com today. Oh, that's the one that always gets me.
Almost smell it right through the screen. Man, does that look good.
How good has Matt Garza been tonight? He's allowed 1 hit through 6. That was a double by Dominic Brown in the 5th. He's walked 3. But when he got into some trouble in the 6th, they used that strikeout pitch to get Utley and Howard and escape.
You think of the 1 hit that Dominic Brown got, that double down the left field line on a 2-strike pitch. He tried to sneak a fastball by him on the outside corner at the knees, and Brown, with a very defensive piece of hitting, barely able to keep it fair down into that left field corner.
Still time to get great seats for the 2011 season. Bleacher seats are still available as well. To purchase tickets, visit Cubs.com. Call 1-800-THE-CUBS or visit the Wrigley Field box office. Top Chef winner, Chicago area native Stephanie Izzard will conduct the 7th inning stretch tonight. About her new restaurant, Bob, the Girl and the Goat. You have to check it out. Shane Victorino, ball 1. Both bullpens are quiet, which has become more uncommon than common in the 7th inning these days around baseball. Marlins coming off a 4-1 road trip, trailing at home to the Padres 4-0 in the bottom of the 9th. Tim Stauffer, 6 innings, no runs. Every Padre pitcher tonight, 4 of them with a season ERA under 3. Luke Gregerson is on in the 9th. 2-2 to Victorino.
The Padres scored 4 runs?
Yeah.
Wow.
On 11 hits.
Dead last in the National League in runs scored this year, going into play tonight.
2-2 to the flying Hawaiian Shane Victorino. It's inside.
I mentioned the Padres. Heath Bell's name has come up quite often in trade rumors, and more recently Mike Adams, their fine setup reliever. His name has popped up on some of the websites and in the rumor mill.
Maybe Ryan Ludwig. Back to Garza. Gets rid of it quickly to Pena.
That's a big play right there by Matt Garza, guys, who's had his defensive issues out there on the mound. If that ball gets over his head, it's going to be tough to get Victorino at first base. But Garza, after delivering that pitch in good fielding position, a little bit of a hop right there, and then the underhand toss for the out.
It's a 100th pitch of Garza's night, and it's too high to Ibanez. They're in the 10th in Toronto. Mariners and Blue Jays are tied at 5. Seattle trying to end a 9-game losing streak. Let's see, wrapped around with the All-Star break. It's been a while since the Mariners last won. 2-0. Their last win, Bob, 2 weeks ago tonight, July 5th. And this is the first time since that night they've scored more than 3 runs.
Well, that's a long time without high-fiving your teammates. You start to wonder if you're ever going to win another ball game.
Popped him up. Starlin Castro for the second out.
At the plate, right fielder Dominic Brown.
Look at our Galaxy pitch tracks. Matt Garza with a fastball. Pretty much right in the heart of the plate to a good hitter, a guy who's had good career success against Garza in the past, but just a little more than he could handle right there.
Only hit of the game for the Phillies belongs to Dominic Brown. On an 0-2 pitch, he doubled into the left field corner. That's been it. 0-2. Michael Stutz, former college teammate of Darwin Barney at Oregon State, is up in the Phillies bullpen. And Brown is 2 for 2. He's been on all 3 times. And another 0-2 pitch.
Just too good that time. You don't really have to waste a pitch on an 0-2 count, but it should be a pitch with purpose. That's a fastball belt high on the inner part of the plate. You scoot it up another 10 inches or so. Maybe you get a swing and a miss or a lazy pop up, but as it is, Dominic Brown able to fight it off for a base hit into center field.
You see why Stutz got up and started throwing. Cliff Lee with just 89 pitches through 6, but he's on deck. So if Ruiz gets on, there's no doubt Charlie Manuel will have to pinch hit for his starter.
And Charlie's got a pretty good option over there from the left side of the plate. Ross Glode leads the major leagues in pinch hits this season.
And big numbers against Matt Garza. There's Glode. He's ready. That's why this is such a huge at bat. I mean, if Ruiz gets on, that means Cliff Lee is done for the night. Means the Phillies will have 2 guys on. Garza's 7th inning will continue. If he gets him here, he gets out of the inning, and Cliff Lee's back on the mound for the bottom of the inning. You'll have these decisions to make if you're managing in the American League.
Mike Quaddy's going to have a decision of his own. Matt Garza is scheduled to lead off the bottom half of the 7th.
Base hit to right. So all 3 of their hits have been 2-strike hits. 2 with an 0-2 count. That one a 1-2 pitch.
That's what Chucho Ruiz does so well. A little slider on the outer third of the plate, stayed right on it, took advantage of that hole in the right side of the infield, put runners at first and second. And as we expected, Ross Glode cranking it up in that on deck circle to take the at bat for Cliff Lee.
If I had told you as Wood and Grable get ready quickly, then in the first 2 games of this series, Roy Halladay and Cliff Lee would combine for 10 innings, would you believe me?
No.
Halladay left due to the heat, but took the loss last night. Cubs scored 3 against him on 7 hits. 8 hits off Cliff Lee here tonight. You wanted to say yes, didn't you? Just to go the other way. Yeah, I would have believed you.
Well, that's why we show up and watch the game every night. You never know what's going to happen. On paper, a Roy Halladay Rodrigo Lopez matchup, a lot of people would say, well, geez, that's a foregone conclusion. Well, no, it wasn't. Rodrigo Lopez was the better pitcher last night. Unfortunately, Roy Halladay had some health issues with the heat, but that's why we show up every night.
So here's Glode with 2 outs and 2 on. Curveball, strike 1. This is what he does. And he leads the majors with the 12 pinch hits. Fly ball left center. It'll be Marlon Byrd to retire the former Cub Ross Glode. Stephanie Izzard with the stretch.
Take me out to the ball game. Chicago native and winner of Top Chef, Stephanie Izzard.
All right, Cubs fans, let me hear ya. A 1, a 2, a 3. Take me out to the ball game. Take me out to the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jack. I don't care if I never get back, so it's root, root, root for the Cubs.
Chats with his battery mate. He'll face Matt Garza, who will take at bat. And great to have with us Top Chef winner, Chicago area native, Stephanie Izzard. Hi, Stephanie. Nice job with the stretch tonight.
Thanks. It was a little nerve-wracking, but I'm glad. That was fun.
If you had fun, it was good.
Yeah.
Everybody else here knows the words. You got the words right. It's good. Sang it with energy.
That's what we say all the time to our guests. It's all about enthusiasm.
That's
the
right.
fans love that enthusiasm.
I tried the pitch a couple of years ago. That was much more nerve-wracking. So.
Well, congrats on being the winner of the 4th season of Top Chef.
Thank you.
And a fan favorite, right?
Yeah. You guys got to come into Girl on the Go and check out the restaurant.
Yes, we do want to do that. I know. I think Mike Quaddy has come in.
He has a couple of times.
2 strikes to Garza. That one just got past everybody. Too bad Matt didn't swing at it. He would have ended up at first.
That's one we used to call a zoom ball. Just an overthrown fastball over everybody's head all the way to the bricks, ricocheted all the way out to Martinez at third base.
Called strike 3, got him. So if we come in for the Girl on the Go, what would you suggest we have?
You have to get the pig face.
The pig face?
Yes. We get in a.
It's very descriptive.
I just want to say something that might catch you a little off guard.
Okay.
It's probably not the answer you usually get. But it's delicious. We call it breakfast gone wild. It's 2 pieces of pig face, a little bit of crunchy potatoes. It's just delicious. You know, good after a night of beer drinking at a Cubs game, I would say.
Okay.
Perfect.
I'll try it. Well, we tried Rocky Mountain oysters, so pig face is a piece of cake.
Yeah, there you go.
The other end of the pig.
We tried not to cover it up with a pretty name like Rocky Mountain Oysters.
Right.
Somebody who's such an accomplished chef, like when you wake up in the morning, what do you have for breakfast? A bowl of Fruit Loops or something? Or do you whip up some kind of a fancy omelet? Or
I have like a protein bar.
Okay.
And a couple pieces of fruit. It's I think as chefs we kind of forget to eat sometimes and have to be reminded just to keep our day going. It's kind of sad. I like seeing other people eat food and enjoy it.
And yeah, what is your favorite meal?
French fries and ranch.
Of course, yeah. For Bob, it's pizza.
Pizza.
Easily pleased.
This is true. Each team has an itinerary when they travel. You get it a few days before the trip. It has hotel information, time of the team bus, what have you. When Bob managed in Arizona, he actually had the phone number of the local pizza places near the team hotels in all the different cities.
Is that what the players are eating?
I know it's what he ate.
I think
Sliding trap by Ibanez. He did not catch it. That's a single. Well, they have really worked on the nutrition for the Cubs players.
I think I was big into pasta when I was playing sports.
I think that hit the turf.
Yeah, it did. That's a good call right there. Good effort by Raul Ibanez in left field, but that ball definitely short hopped into the mid.
Did you meet Chef Tom Otis Hellman in the Cubs clubhouse before the game?
I did not, but I will have to head down.
Yeah. He makes a mean egg sandwich. I know that.
A little bacon and cheese on there too.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
The most famous egg salad sandwich in all of baseball.
Ah. Stinky and delicious, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
You guys definitely have the best seat in the house, I must say.
We do.
Yes, we do.
The view up here is amazing.
We are very fortunate. And you're fortunate to be here tonight, not last night. It was about 20 degrees hotter in the ballpark, but pretty comfortable tonight.
I had some Phillies fans from my restaurant that were here, and they were very upset, and I was very happy. So it all worked out well.
Now, you were born in Evanston, right? Where did you grow up?
I grew up on the East Coast, and I've been back here about 11 years. So I am definitely a Chicagoan at heart. Will always stay here.
Pop to right. And this one will be caught by Brown. Stephanie Izzard, thanks so much for the time, and we will definitely try the pig face The girl and the goat.
Thank you.
Thanks for stopping by.
Nice to meet you.
Great to meet
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Chef winner. They're at first 2 outs here in the 7th. The batter is Aramis Ramirez. I'll try it. I'll do it.
Sure.
Big
why
face.
not?
That sounds good. My vegetarian wife may try something else, but I'm in.
Can they do a pig face pizza? That's the big question.
For you, I'm sure they can. Before, and it almost got him.
Oh, almost got a piece of the jersey there. Michael Stutz is aware of Aramis Ramirez's propensity for swinging at that first pitch and hitting balls out of the ballpark, and he was going to make sure that Aramis didn't swing at that one.
Johnson back in time. Reed with 3 hits tonight from the leadoff spot. One and 2. And rocketed into the press box. Official score Bob Rosenberg. Didn't make the catch. He let the ball hit the wall behind him and then picked it up.
He would try to give it to a kid, but it would end up being a wild pitch.
Base hit for Ramirez. His second tonight.
Stutz a hard thrower, everything in the mid to upper 90s. Just a topspin grounder right back up the middle of the field. Jimmy Rollins ranging over from short, just can't get there in time. Now we're going to have a pinch hitter for Jeff Baker with the right-hander on the mound for the Phillies. It's going to be Blake DeWitt to take the at-bat for Jeff Baker.
Ladies and gentlemen, pinch hitting for the Cubs, number 9, Blake DeWitt.
10 hits now for the Cubs. Give a shout out to our good buddy, former Cub pitcher and former colleague here at Comcast Sportsnet, now at MLB Network, Dan Plesac, checking in, watching us tonight. Watches about 12 games at a time.
On a slow night, yeah.
On a slow night, yeah. Doing a great job. 1-1 on pinch hitter Blake DeWitt. Fly ball right center. Shane Victorino, 2 hands on it. And then the Cubs come up empty in the 7th. 2 hits, but 2 stranded. To the 8th. Cubs 2, Phillies nothing. Participating McDonald's for $1.89. Darwin Barney comes in to play second base after Blake DeWitt pinch hit for Jeff Baker. Matt Garza will start this 8th inning. Sean Marshall up in the bullpen. And he can go more than an inning tonight if needed.
This lineup is set up perfectly for Sean Marshall. Kind of past the point of the game for James Russell, but all the switch hitters in the lineup, with the exception of Shane Victorino, are better from the left side of the plate, and then Charlie Manuel has a boatload of left-handed hitters in that middle of the lineup. I think if we see one base runner for the Phillies, we're probably going to see Sean Marshall in this ball game. Matt Garza has pitched too well tonight to leave him in the ball game and risk losing a chance at a victory tonight.
Off the front foot of Jimmy Rollins. 1-1.
Your primary concern as a manager is always to win the game. That trumps everything else. But by the same token, when you have a starting pitcher like Matt Garza tonight, like Rodrigo Lopez last night, like some of the other Cubs starters this year, if you have an opportunity to get them out of the ball game where the worst they can suffer is a no decision, you're almost indebted to that pitcher to do it because of the effort that he gave you on a given night.
Inside edge. One and 2 to Rollins. Here it comes. Smacks a breaking ball into right. I sound like a broken record, but all 4 Phillies hits have come on an 0-2 or a 1-2 count. That's nitpicking, though. I mean, Matt Garza tonight, excellent. He's going to leave after this leadoff single. And for the second straight night, the Cubs starting pitcher gets a standing ovation. It's the Verizon call to the pen. Here comes Sean Marshall. call to the pen, and it's Sean Marshall. And if all goes well, because of all these lefties in the lineup and the current bullpen situation for the Cubs, I think Sean Marshall ideally gets the save. It's a final 6 outs.
Well, he's fairly well rested as any relief pitcher for the Cubs can be this year. He pitched on back-to-back days on the 14th and 15th against the Florida Marlins. Got a hold and a save in those 2 games, but with 4 days of rest, should be good to go tonight.
The 0-1 to Martinez, and a base hit. First and second, nobody out. Middle of the order guys coming up. Nice tip of the cap from Matt Garza to this appreciative crowd when he came out, but then he kind of slammed his his fist into his glove. And I think if we can get inside Matt's head for 1 second, Bob, he had no hit stuff tonight, and as we said, the 4 hits he gave up all came either 0-2 or 1-2. He very easily could have been in the 9th inning tonight with a no-hitter with just a couple of different pitches or locations.
Location more than anything else, I think. An elevated fastball in one situation, a breaking ball in the dirt in another situation. But like you said before, that's nitpicking with the way he pitched tonight.
Stuff was excellent. And now all of a sudden the Phillies have the tying runs on base as Marshall deals a strike to Chase Utley. The guy on deck, Ryan Howard, had a game-winning 2-run single off Marshall on June 12th in Philadelphia. One and one to Utley. That's trouble into the alley. Bird will pick it up. The Phillies are going to get 2 to tie it. And Matt Garza will get a no decision as Chase Utley just tied the game with a 2-run double.
Unfortunately, that double comes with 2 of the Phillies' best runners on base. Michael Martinez had a tremendous jump at first. He was off with the crack of the bat. He saw that ball was going to split the gap. You can see him not too far behind Jimmy Rollins, scoring all the way from first base on that double.
I'll tell you something, partner. And the Cubs still can win this game, but Matt Garza's last 2 starts, it is a crime that he will not get a win either time out. 7 innings, no runs against the Marlins. 7+, and charged with 1 here tonight, but he left with a 2-0 lead. Man. Well, and still nobody out.
Yeah, and nobody feels worse about it than Sean Marshall. I mean, those guys take great pride in coming in there and stranding inherited runners, especially after a stellar outing like tonight from Matt Garza. A little anger on that fastball, 93 miles an hour.
Ryan Madsen recently off the DL. Still not back in the closer's role as he's kind of setting up for Antonio Bastardo, kind of moving back toward that ninth inning. Utley takes off, throw to third, late as Howard strikes out. Utley now at third with one away.
The Phillies don't run a lot, but they run at odd times. They ran last night on an 0-2 count. Once again here today, Chase Utley running with Ryan Howard at the plate in a 2-strike count. He's able to get in underneath the throw.
Just injured himself and nearly came off the bag. Infield in against Victorino. Well, this is just a game sometimes you can't figure out. Matt Garza, 2 starts ago, got hammered for 7 runs in 2 innings. The Cubs came all the way back from down 8-0. He got a no decision. Victorino takes a strike. His last 2 starts now, 14 innings, 1 run. He won't get a win in either.
And every time that particular topic comes up, we point out once again how unimportant wins and losses are in the grand scheme of things for a pitcher. There's only so much you can control.
And the one before the start at Washington, 9 innings, a complete game, 1 run, and he lost 1-0. Marshall could use a strikeout. It's 1-1 on Victorino. Utley coming. Throw to the plate. Out at home plate. Starlin Castro to Giovanni Soto. They get Utley and preserve the tie. 2 down.
Boy, not an easy play for Starlin Castro, moving to his left toward the middle of the diamond. Has to not only get to that ball, get rid of it quickly. He throws a strike to Giovanni Soto, who is all over that plate, not allowing Chase Utley to get in. Well, that's as good as you can do it right there.
He never did get to the plate until the tag was applied. One more look from this angle. And no argument from the Phillies. It was close.
Well, what a great throw from Starlin Castro and a great job of blocking the plate by Giovanni Soto.
So Banez bats with Victorino at first and 2 outs. Foul tip, strike 1. Victorino faked towards second and then put on the brakes.
13 out of 15 on the season in stolen bases. His injury was to his thumb, so his legs are fine.
He's got some protection on the right thumb. One and 2.
Pick off attempt at first base on the way.
And he had him dead to rights. Victorino was dancing towards second.
Actually made a step or 2 towards second, but still able to scramble back and just does get his hand on the bag before the tag by Carlos Pena.
38,857. And they're into it here in the 8th. Another throw to first. Utley tied it with a 2-run double. He then stole third. He was gunned down at the plate by Starlin Castro on a bouncer off the bat of Victorino.
Another pick attempt coming. And the fact that Sean Marshall's ahead in the count to Ibanez 1-2, and you're pretty sure that Shane Victorino wants to steal that bag out there with 2 outs and 2 strikes on the hitter. It's a great time for a pitch out right here. Thrown a couple of picks to first base already. He's probably not anticipating another one.
Swing and a miss to end the inning. They do tie it, but then Marshall recovers and keeps it tied at 2. Back where we started. Michael Stutz in his second inning of work gave up 2 hits, no runs in the 7th. Ball 1 to Marlon Byrd, who saw just 4 pitches in his first 3 plate appearances. Antonio Bastardo is up in the Phillies bullpen. Fastball too high. Pop up into shallow right as Utley calls for it. The Cubs Felco upcoming schedule. Wrap up the series tomorrow here on CSN. We'll have games 1 and 2 on Saturday. A couple of off days, Thursday and Monday. And then 3 city trips starting in Milwaukee Tuesday night. And that trip is very important for the teams the Cubs are playing. They're going to play the top 3 teams in the division currently: Milwaukee, St. Louis, and then Pittsburgh. We'll have all 4 games in Pittsburgh here on CSN or CSN Plus. Starting at 6 o'clock. Been a while since Soriano hit a home run. He's due. June 19th. It's July 19th.
I'd love to see nothing more than that, but this is going to be a tough challenge here against Stutz, because the combination of pitches that he features are the pitches that Soriano has problems with.
And he was out in front.
Stutz with that high riding fastball in the mid to upper 90s, a hard late biting slider. That one he hung over the middle of the plate to Soriano, but unfortunately pulled it foul. That's a hittable breaking ball right there in the middle of the plate and down.
Swing and a miss, 2 down.
First baseman Carlos Pena.
Better slider this time from Stutz. Starts it on that outer third of the plate. That's the one that's so tough to lay off of. Drops out of the strike zone low and away.
Charlie Manuel coming out. He has Bastardo ready. Actually, no, it's not. It's Juan Perez, not Bastardo.
Charlie Manuel's doing most of his talking to his catcher and his shortstop. What a group effort out there by the Phillies. Everybody contributed to that meeting on the mound.
Oh, it was Juan Perez earlier, not Bastardo, who has been closing. So Perez has been the guy warming up the entire inning. And is ready if necessary. And they are not going to overshift here. Utley's going to move a bit to his left. And Rollins will shift a little bit, but not all the way around.
And not to overthink it, but if you're Carlos Pena, well, now they are going to put on the drastic pull shift. I was going to say, it would tell you they're probably going to try to pitch you away. If they're not going to play the exaggerated pull shift that most teams do, and the Phillies have done throughout the first 2 games of this series, if they're going to play in a standard defensive position as a hitter, you would have to tell yourself they're going to work me away. And we know Carlos Pena has great power to the opposite field.
He's been as locked in the last 2 days as he's been all year. You think Ruiz wanted that one? Did you ever do this? Watch this. It's right down the middle. Now watch Ruiz. No, you don't get his reaction. Now they'll just intentionally walk Pena. How about that? Nobody on base and 2 outs.
I think they just didn't like that matchup an awful lot with Michael Stutz against Carlos Pena. As you mentioned, he's been swinging the bat well, had 2 great at-bats against Cliff Lee in this ball game. Charlie's going to take his chances, putting the potential go-ahead run on base and go after the right-handed hitting Giovanni Soto.
Now, Tim Wilkie missed this call. It was right down the middle. Maybe not caught very well by Ruiz. Watch Ruiz.
Oh, yeah. I've done that before.
The body language said it all.
If there were no out or maybe one out, you might see a pinch runner for Pena over at first base. Mike Quade has a secret weapon in Tony Campana available over there, but with 2 outs in the inning in a tie ball game that you're not sure how long is going to go on, you want to leave as many good hitters in the lineup as you possibly can.
Sitting at home going, wait, he just hung a slider. Well, it's a 2-0 slider. Soto's not looking for that pitch. This will have you muttering to yourself.
Well, that's a good take, a tough take, but a good take right there to run the count to full. That's that nasty slider he got Soriano to chase, just off of the outside corner.
Pena with a big lead as he takes off for the 3-2. Kosuke's on deck in Marshall's spot. Kerry Wood loosening in the bullpen. Pena goes again, swing and a miss, strike 3 on the slider, and the inning is over. They strand one, will head to the 9th in a 2-2 deadlock. David Kaplan, Todd Hollandsworth will break down the game and preview the Cubs' next matchup. Don't miss Coors Light Cubs post-game live immediately following the game right here on Comcast Sportsnet. Fans' best friend. Sean Marshall will start the ninth against Dominic Brown.
Before we get started, Len, congratulations to Stephanie and Jeff Norris. Cassidy May Norris was born this evening, 9 pounds 6 ounces. Stephanie runs camera here on our crew.
That's right. Congrats. John Mayberry Jr. will hit for Dominic Brown. Two for 4 with a double last night as he started in center. He chops to the shortstop Starlin Castro, and the throw dug out by Pena for out number 1.
Catcher number 51, Carlos Ruiz.
Bastardo and righty Ryan Madsen. Imagine it'll be Bastardo if the Phillies get a run. And if we're tied, it'll be Madsen. Then Francisco on deck for Stutz. Cue shot foul. 1-2. Ruiz has caught the first 2 games of this series. Got to figure Brian Schneider be a pretty good candidate to start tomorrow with a very hot day planned here at Wrigley Field.
Brian Schneider, the backup catcher, a left-handed hitter, only 65 at bats on the season. When you back up Carlos Ruiz, you don't get a lot of playing time.
Swing and miss. He got him.
One left-handed pitcher is called the back foot slider. He sweeps all the way across the zone. By the time Giovanni Soto catches it, it's behind the back foot of Carlos Ruiz.
So they discuss how to attack Ben Francisco, who's done a nice job off the bench. 5 for 14 with a double, 2 walks, 3 RBIs as a pinch hitter. He has 6 game-winning RBIs in somewhat limited action. He's made 54 starts. One and one. Francisco pinch hit last night and grounded out in the 7th. One and two. You know, if he has a cookie in the clubhouse, you know what they call that? A Ben Francisco treat.
Oh, man. Can't even blame it on the heat tonight.
Didn't miss by much. 2-2. He posts something on the internet. A Ben Francisco tweet. You're hoping for a Marshall strikeout here, aren't you?
Yeah, a strikeout and a quick run in the bottom of the inning.
Well, Bird will not get there. He was playing no doubles. Very deep out in center. And they do hold Francisco to a single.
Francisco with decent speed on over there at first base, but not a good base stealer. Only 3 out of 7 on the season.
Marshall has a sign. Holds his hands high in the set position, and the 0-1 on the way outside on a curveball. Tampa Bay beat the Yanks 3-2. Jeremy Hellickson over Bartolo Colon. Robinson Cano with his 16th home run. Losing cause. But the Yankees didn't lose any ground as Boston also lost 6-2 at Baltimore. Yankees are a game and a half behind the Red Sox. 2-2. Detroit over Oakland 8-3 the final. And the Indians lost, so a tie for the AL Central lead. 2 in the bottom of the ninth for the Twins. The 2-2 pitch to Rollins, knocked down by Ramirez. Everybody's going to be safe. Francisco kind of stumbled around second base. That's an infield hit for Rollins. Inning still alive for Martinez.
Where Sean Marshall had effectively stayed away from Jimmy Rollins in that at bat until that final pitch, a breaking ball that came on the inner third of the plate. Just absolutely ate up Ramirez down there at third base. If Castro would have deked to throw to first and flipped to second, they may have had Francisco. As you mentioned, he stumbled around the bag at second, very awkwardly went back in.
Martinez was the first guy Marshall faced, and he singled into center. That was in the 8th. Now he's batting with 2 on and 2 out in the 9th. All this happening after 2 are out. A big cut and a miss.
Here's Francisco as he slipped off the bag at second. Had to kind of bear crawl backwards to the bag.
And a floater down the right field line. The Phillies grab the lead. Francisco scores. Rollins will get in. Throw's going to go to second. Castro to Ramirez. Tag applied, but Michael Martinez with a 2-run double. And we'll go to the bottom of the 9th with Philadelphia leading for the first time tonight.
by the Sean Marshall offering, but finds fair territory down that right field line. Reed Johnson a little bit of trouble playing that ball off the sidewall, hit him in the arm. By the time he recovers, Jimmy Rollins is going to score. Martinez is out in no man's land rounding second base. The Cubs were able to get the final out of the inning at third base on the hitter Martinez, but the damage had been done.
So Marshall charged with 3 runs tonight. Went from a save spot to possibly being able to get the win if the Cubs could have pushed one across in the 8th, to now being on the hook for the loss as left-hander Antonio Bastardo will try to save it for Stutz.
Boy, great numbers for Bastardo. 35 1/3, only 13 hits surrendered, 40 strikeouts. He does walk a fair share of batters, but rarely gives up damaging hits.
Kosuke will lead it off as a pinch hitter. Johnson and Castro will also bat here in the 9th.
Kosuke 1 for 2 lifetime against Bastardo. The one hit was a home run, and there's no question he's your best on-base percentage guy available to pinch hit in this situation, so he's going to lead it off.
So lefty against lefty. Fouled back.
Fastball slider combination from Bastardo. He will mix in an occasional straight changeup to a right-handed hitter, but basically a 2-pitch mix. Really hides the ball well.
And a 1-2 count. At some point Ryan Madsen will be back in that closer's role. Well, I guess it's always a good problem to have, right, when the guy who fills in is as good as Bastardo has been.
It's nice to have a plan B or a plan C in this case.
Sounds like the Phillies, if they do add, would like another veteran reliever. Maybe a right-handed bat. I don't know if they know what they're going to get from Brad Lidge. Coming back from a sprained rotator cuff. He hasn't pitched yet this year. A lot of times when guys like that come back, you say it's almost like a mid-season acquisition. But if he is Brad Lidge, either at his best or near his best, they won't need to make a trade.
No. But the thing is, you're not quite
You
sure
don't know.
which Brad Lidge you're going to get. At times he can be one of the most dominating closers in the game. At other times he has trouble getting anybody out.
And a historically great 2008. Perfect in save chances all the way through the World Series. 09, awful. Last year, numbers were good. when he was healthy. Three and two on Kosuke with Reed Johnson on deck. Here's the pitch. And he got him. Swing and a miss on a fastball.
Right fielder Reed Johnson.
All that low fog. Mid-90s fastball down around the knees on the outer part of the plate.
I think the other part of it is, Bob, it's just the nature of short relief. Even if Lidge is totally healthy, his stuff is good. I mean, Sean Marshall's probably been the Cubs' most valuable relief pitcher, certainly, this year. Didn't have a good night. Can't fault Mike Quade for the maneuvering he made in the 8th inning. As you mentioned, Garza gives up the hit. You even said before they'll probably come out with one base runner. He did. Marshall came in and gave up 5 hits in 2 innings.
The odd thing about the numbers for Sean Marshall against these Phillies hitters, the lefties actually hit him a lot better than the righties do. Now that doesn't take away from the move. I would have done exactly the same thing, but it just seems kind of odd that Utley and Howard, Ibanez, all with better numbers, or with good numbers rather, against Sean Marshall. One of the tougher lefty setup men in the game.
Johnson strikes out. Well, this will be a tough one to swallow if the Cubs can't come back. They had him down 2-0 in the 8th inning. A chance to possibly win back-to-back games against Roy Halladay and Cliff Lee. And again, you hate to waste another fantastic outing from Matt Garza. A piece of the mask of Ruiz. Foul strike on Castro.
Need a runner. Come on, Star.
The last 11 times the Phillies have lost a game, they've come back the next night and won. They've lost 2 in a row since early June.
Again, that comes back to that starting pitching. When you can run ace after ace after ace out to that mound, you're not going to have too many long losing streaks.
One-two pitch. Count holding. Only runs for the Cubs. A 2-run homer by Castro in the first inning. It was the second batter Cliff Lee faced. You're going to wear more than a Speedo tomorrow, right? It's going to be about 1,000 degrees here.
No. A Comcast tank top and a Speedo.
You don't want to miss that here on CSN. It's a 1-2 again. He got him that time inside corner on a fastball, and he strikes out the side. So the Phillies come back with 2 in the 8th. They win it with 2 in the 9th. And we will have a rubber match tomorrow. And again, if you're coming out, make sure you're hydrated. It's going to be a hot one here at